Alrighty. Alright, I want to say welcome to everybody. My name is JB. We're going to take a little bit of your time to show you a little bit of techniques that has worked for me on fishing with some of these lures. I'm doing this video because I have not been able to find much videos on the internet that is current with fishing in certain locations or fishing with certain equipment. So I wanted to take this time to reach out to those who may be struggling to try to learn this stuff because guys, this is a really fun enjoyable way to pass the time with getting on here fishing. And if you're struggling with this, it really makes it really aggravating and you're not going to stick with it. You're just not going to want to do it no more. But once you kind of learn the basics of how this stuff is, now everything that I'm going to show you today is what has worked for me. You may find that some of this stuff may not work for you, or you may find that others have told you different, but you're going to have to find your own key to how this is going to work out for yourself. Okay, so right now today we're at the starter pond, which is Belarus. Okay, as we see here, we're at the starter pond. And there's so many maps on this game that you can go to. But guys, I keep coming back to this location here. I enjoy fishing here. I've made quite a bit of money fishing these things because I've found out where these places are biting, and I know how certain stuff works, and it's just really enjoyable to come here and knowing that you get a nice little strike on the end of that line, and it just, all that work that you've done, it just pays off. Okay, so here is the beginning of the map where you're going to start out mostly when you come here. So you can either walk all the way down here, or you can, if you have spawn points, you can either spawn. Now guys, I want you to also know that I'm actually a VIP on this game, and so what that does is that this gives you a few perks, and one of the perks that it gives you, it actually, if you click on different points on the lake, you can see the depthness of how deep the water is. That's going to help you really on doing your fishing, because you're going to be able to find where those places of interest, if you will, is that's going to really help you. Okay, a lot of times if you're casting your line, you know, let's say if your line goes somewhere out here, where if you come in here and click, you're like, oh, so I'm 62 meters from where I was at. So you'll be able to use that as a circumference to figure out. Guys, it's not rocket science, but it's just some of the stuff that you just need to know. Now guys, I would recommend getting a paper and pen and have a little pad close by and write some of this stuff down, because I've got a pad that I keep up with, and you can come across so many different types of fish, and that way you can just keep track. Okay, I know if I do this, this is going to work with this breed of fish. If I do this, this is going to work with that. So I just want to make this stuff a little bit more easier. Okay, so today is just going to be a little bit kind of laid back and just kind of learn some stuff. All right, so now we are down here. We are down here at this little, once you come to this area, or you walk around here, just come all the way down here, and we've got this little dock, or this little pier. Okay, so we see it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's a nice little overcast, and so we've got a nice little location to fish. Now we got some good vegetation that is on the right down here. We got some nice vegetation that is down here on the left. Prime territory for pike and prime territory for perch. Okay, so what we're going to be using for our arsenal this morning, we're going to kind of start off, let's start off a little bit smaller, if you will. I've got my Basser B, which is actually a real money purchase that I had gotten. I think it was something like $3. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but what we're using here is a 13-pound rod with a 11-pound bait caster reel, and then I'm using a 13-pound test line. And then I'm using a 9-pound leader. You're always on your leaders, guys. You're always wanting to go a little bit less than what your pole and line is, so that way if something breaks, it's just going to break this area right here. It's not going to break everything. Okay, so it's a lot cheaper to repair and replace this than what it is all of this. So I got a 9-pound leader, And then we're not going to use the jig here. We're going to use to start off with, since it's kind of overcast and the visibility may be low. We're going to start off up here with one of these little top water poppers. Okay, let's go with let's go with the lowest, which is a .35. All right, so we got this set up right here, guys. If you look down here at your test of this setup, it's tested between 3 to 14 pounds. So we see that we're in a good number. We're about a number 10. You're going to get a nice cast of that. Okay. Now, if you decided to come up here and you wanted to get this set up here, you're going to be overweight. You're not going to really get any good castings out of it because you're out of that window. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump right back up here. We're going to grab this top water bait. Now, this top water bait is going to be skimming across the top of the water. Okay, so we're going to get our little reel out here. All right, so guys, the area that we want to cast in is going to be right here near the shoreline to about right here. You want to kind of keep your line when you're reeling it back in is within this area right here. That is the prime location of catching perch and pike. It don't matter what lake you're on. But in this particular location, I know casting right here is a prime location where you can catch some nice fish. Okay, and we're gonna do a full cast. A full cast is we're gonna get full bars. Okay, so I'm gonna get my reel set up about right here. We're gonna get a full cast. All right. And as we see, it's going now. It just landed. See, we just got a fish just right there. We basically threw it right in the mouth of that fish. Okay, right from the get-go, we're already catching fish. Ain't that something? And I don't know if he had gotten off or not. Let's see what we got here. Yep. I think he got off on us. All right, let's reel this thing back in and go from there. Yep, he got off. All right, so we're gonna try it again here. All right, so again about right here, we're gonna get another full cast. Now, when we let this thing go, as soon as it hits the water, you don't want to reel this thing back in. Just give it a second, 1,000, 2,000, and then slowly reel. The speed that we want this thing to be set at, folks, is going to be, is going to be a 27. On this bait right here on the top water, we want this thing to be a 17. Okay, if you hold down your R button, that'll change the speed of your reeling. Now, your tension on your friction on your reel, we will set that about a 15, because you don't want this thing to be maxed out, because if a fish hits this, it's going to wind up breaking something. So we want to bump this thing back down here on your friction to about a 16 or a 17. Okay, so we're reeling this thing in. I know it seems slow, but trust me, we got our speed set at 17. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to sit here and do a pop. Okay, you can't see it, but what it is that top water rig is actually creating a wave or a wake, if you will, and that just drives these fish crazy. Okay, if you want to do, and what I'm doing, I'm right clicking on my mouse, I'm just bumping it just a little bit, just a little bump. You could do a half a bump, which is hold it down a little bit longer. You see it went up a little bit higher, or you could do a full bump all the way, or you can do it and hold it just like that. But normally what I'm doing, you want to kind of change up your pattern. You don't want to be exactly even every single time. And what I mean by that, you don't want to be 2 times on the turn and then a pop, 2 times a turn and a pop. You want to kind of get things uneven, if you will, because that's just what's going to attract these fish. Now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've got some lag. Every time I do a recording, I've got a lag in my computer for some reason. So just bear with me, okay? Now that reel is just taking it ever so slowly. And that lure, which is that top water wobble, it's creating that little wake And you may throw this thing out a few times and you may not get nothing. Don't get discouraged, because what has happened is that the fish are there, but the fish may be hungry, but they're not hitting your hook because your technique could be a little off. So this is where it comes to practice this stuff, and this is good practice. Like I said, right now we're in a prime time to catch these fish this morning, because these fish normally start to bite about 5:30 in the morning to about 9 o'clock. Okay, so we're gonna move it over just a little bit more. All right, we see where it hit. Now, if you can see off in the distance, see how that thing is splashing? That thing is creating this splash, and what is happening, that thing is creating an effect like there's a wounded or injured small fish. And these bigger predators like the pikes and the perches, that's what they go after. First thing in the morning, you have a lot of wildlife that comes and visits these ponds, and you may have like birds that are flying. They may see, there we go, we got a hit right there. So birds may be flying in the morning time. They may have their nuts and berries that they may drop out of their mouth. It hits the water, and these fish feed off the top of that water. Now, I have to say that the creators of this game have done a good job at recreating how fish bites and how they react, because it's pretty much on course, on par. Okay, so here I could tell by the way it's pulling, it's going to probably be a small pike, probably about a 2 to 3 pound pike. This is good stuff. Normally what I do a lot of times, I'll have my computer, I've got 2 monitors. I'm fishing, and then on the other monitor, there we go, we got a pike. Get our little net in the water by pressing the space bar. About a 2 pound pike, guys. So I'll get up here and I'll have on the other monitor, I'll have me some nice soothing music, or watching a movie, or whatever the case may be to pass the time. Okay. So it hit the water, we paused a little bit before we started reeling, and now we're going to do this popping. There we go, we got another bite. I'm telling you, this top water popper right here, this thing is the bomb. These things, they hit that all the time. Now, when they hit it, you don't want to jerk that thing so hard, you're going to pull the teeth out of the mouth of the fish. Just hit your right button and just kind of set that hook, if you will. Now, I'll tell you, if you're using a lure with a small hook and you catch a big fish, you're going to probably wind up losing it, because you don't have a whole lot of hook that the fish is bitten into. So this here again, the way this is pulling. Now we see here that my line, my rod, and my reel, the meter at the bottom, it's all pretty good with this type of fish. Nothing is maxing out too much. Now you may have like a 20 pound rod and a 20 pound reel and a 20 pound test line, but if that fish is, let's say, is 15 pounds, and if he's swimming fighting against your pulling, he's going to pretty much maxing your stuff out. Okay, so that's how you pretty much fish with that top water wobble. So we're going to change this up just a little bit. Okay, top water wobble, I'm using that about a 17. I'm reeling it in, I'm popping, reeling it in, popping, maybe a pop, reel it in, pop. So just change up your pattern. You want to do something different when you're out there. Okay, now this top water here, a lot of times you can't get that to a little bit later on, but this is supposed to simulate a mouse, which is going to be operating the same way as these other here. Now your jerk, we're not going to work with those today, but your jerk works a little bit different, and we'll go into that in another category, because I want to kind of show you guys something that maybe everybody is going to have. Okay, all right, so we're going to change up here. Now this is one Old Faithful right here. I'm gonna tell you what, a tree log would basically hit these things. These things are so good. All right, this is your spinner bait. We've got a 0.35 ounce, a 0.21 ounce, a 0.11, and a 0.14. But we're going to go with a 0.35. Now this here, you're going to probably either get perches or pikes. Okay, same thing. We're going to cast it in the same general area, which is right in here. Okay, but the only thing different is we're going to bump this thing up to a 27. Guys, these are settings that have worked for me time and time again. Okay, we got our crank set at about 17. Okay, all right, let's get busy fishing. Get a full bar up here. You hit the water, give it a second, and then start reeling. Now, same thing here, but a little bit different. As you're reeling it, I do just a little bit of bump. Just let it reel a few times, maybe bump it. Reel it in a few more times, a bump. You want to kind of ease up. Because guys, I'm going to tell you, most of these fish are going to strike right when that thing is bumping. They'll bite when that. You got to remember that jig up under the water is kind of like jumping, if you will, and that's what these fish go after. Okay. You can do a little bump, or you can do another half bump, or a full bump. Okay? Just kind of change it up. Now, right now we have an overcast. It's kind of the water may be a little cloudy. This may or may not work, but this lure right here is mainly what I use mostly. Excuse me, had to sneeze. This is my mainly go-to when I want to cast. If I go to a tournament that has pike fishing, this is the first one that I'll grab, because this is the one that they bite mostly. Now, I wished I could get my hands on something that is bigger. Okay, well they didn't bite that, so let's move it over just a little bit, because these fish may be a little closer to the shoreline. Okay. Just a little bump. Okay. Just a little bumpy. Now don't get discouraged if they're not biting. I've noticed some videos, some people, if they throw it twice and they don't get a bite, then they're running all over the pond like they're doing a workout. Take time to learn your area that you're in. You're not down here fishing with dynamite. You're sitting here trying to learn where these fish are biting and what they bite the most and what they like the most. Every pond is different. Okay, verify that we're on 27. Okay. We're right here in that grass, which is a prime location for this spinner. This is where these perch and these pikes love to hang out. Alright, so we're coming up here to the end. Now don't start reeling it in too fast right here, because you may have a fish on the end. Okay, alright, let's go ahead and pause it here, and then we're going to come back on the next video and we'll go from there. Be right back. Okay.